Hello, Mr. Claxon's algebra students. I'm coming at you here from my homestead. You may hear the children playing in the background, possibly screaming. Sometimes they get excited when they play. We're just going to roll with it. Wanted to show you some hacks here for the skills, the IXL skills. I do not want you to be frustrated, and I would prefer that you do this or watch this before attempting the skills. Just to review a couple things here about squaring a value, right? So we have a function. This is a quadratic function. We know it's a quadratic because we see that squared term right there. What this function is telling us to do, the rule that it's telling us to do, it's function f at x, and it's telling to square x and then subtract 2. We still have to follow those order of operations. So if x is -2, that means we're going to substitute a -2 into function f. So let's go ahead and do that. When I substitute that in, -2 squared, that's -2 times -2. We know negative times negative is a positive, that's 4. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. So my output is 2. You will need to create, you're probably going to need to do some work. I don't know if it'll look exactly like this. Some of you may find a shorter method, but this is how you should do it, especially for those first few problems. Some of you may be able to lean with it, rock with it, roll with it, the mental math later on. Looking at another problem, sometimes they will require you to multiply. They'll have a coefficient out in front of the squared term. Here this is function f at q. Q is just our input variable. So we're going to go ahead and substitute a -1 into function f. When we do that, it's 7 times -1 squared. The order of operations says I have to take care of the exponents first. So -1 squared is 1. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 6 is 13. And you're probably going to notice here that whenever we have that q squared in there, whether q is negative or whether it's positive, we're still going to get the same answer. So for -1, we get 13. And for +1, we get 13 as well. We would fill those values in. You can just hit the tab button to go between these. That may help you a little bit if you're entering values. Notice if we enter a 2 into function f, f at 2 is equal to 7 times 2 squared plus 6. So it's 7 times 4 plus 6. So that's 28 plus 6. So what do we got there? 34. I didn't do 0. 0's kind of an easier one. If we plug 0 into there, 0 squared is 0. 7 times 0 plus 6. So 0, 6. Let's go ahead and take a look at another problem. Now this one has a variable in 2 different spots. This is one of the tougher problems, really. And the reason why is just because there's a lot going on with the positives and negatives here. So it's easy to miss one of these. And that's why I'm only requiring you to get to a SMART score of 60 or better for this for full credit. So 60 or better will be full credit. This may take you all of the 30 minutes today. So looking at this, we've got a -2, that's our coefficient in front of the squared term. I tried to make the different colors here just to help you out. So looking at that, if we have function f at -2, I have to plug the -2 in. And I have to remember to put parentheses around that if I'm using a calculator. If I'm not using a calculator, you're probably going to be getting the wrong answers here. You must put parentheses around that. So -2 times, that -2 squared is 4, so -2 times 4. And then I say minus -8. Now we all know minus -8 is the same as plus +8. So I'm going to get -8 plus +8, which is 0 here. Again, we plug in this -1. We have to square that -1 first. So -1 squared is 1. So -2 times 1 is -2 minus negative. We know that's plus positive. So I'm going to get negative 2 plus 4, which is 2. So my output is 2. So when I input a negative 1, my output is 2. Looking at another problem. Now this one right here, it will throw you a curveball. So I definitely wanted to go over it because there's a negative in front of the z squared. The use of parentheses is paramount here. We have to understand what this is like saying, I don't like the fact that they use z as a variable. It looks too much like a 2, so we put that slash through it. So function f at z is equal to negative z squared. That's the opposite of z squared. So notice that there's no parentheses here. And I'm not going to put any in this because there were no parentheses to start. So what does this mean when there's no parentheses? When there's no parentheses there, it actually means negative 1 times z squared. So it's like taking z squared first and then multiplying it times negative 1. Why is that? Because of the order of operations. Think PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, exponents, then multiply or divide. So we do our exponent first, and then we multiply or divide. And so that's what's going on here. When we plug a negative 4 in, we get negative 4 squared, which is 16, and then we multiply negative 1 times 16 to get negative 16. So that's just a little bit tougher. Definitely want you to write this stuff down so you don't get confused. It can be frustrating, especially whenever you have a typo. I had several times where I just forgot a negative or didn't put in the correct number that I thought I was putting in. So double check yourself, write this down, and again, only a SMART score of 60 or better for full credit. I wish you well. I will definitely be making more videos now. You may hear my children, but that's okay. If you do have any questions, reach out to me via email if you're able to. If you're struggling to access the content, especially the online stuff, let me know as well. We have some low-tech, no-tech assignments. So thank you very much, and enjoy this math experience, the best you can at least.